The fluorescent lights buzzed overhead like a swarm of angry bees. Jenna wiped her hands on her scrubs and glanced at the clock. 2:57 a.m. The hospital was silent, except for the occasional hum of a ventilator or the distant beep of a monitor somewhere down the hall. She had worked the night shift for 2 years and thought she had seen it all, but tonight felt different. The emergency room was empty. The only patients were in beds she hadn't been assigned to, and the corridors were unnaturally still. Even the janitor hadn't passed by in the last half hour, which was unusual. Jenna's phone buzzed on the counter, a message from her coworker. "Don't freak," but the cameras just went black in room 312. Jenna froze. Room 312. That was the isolation room on the far end of the hall. The one that had been closed after a patient with severe infection was discharged last week. Probably just a glitch, she muttered to herself, trying to shake the chill running down her spine. She walked slowly down the hall, her shoes squeaking softly on the linoleum. The closer she got to the room, the colder the air felt. Her breath puffed out in small clouds, even though the HVAC had been on all night. She reached the door, and the small window in the door revealed darkness inside. No light. Not a flicker. Then she saw it. Movement. At first, she thought it was a shadow. A trick of the light. But as she focused, a figure emerged in the corner, just beyond the reach of the security camera's view. Tall, lanky, its head tilted slightly, standing perfectly still. She could make out nothing else. No face, no details, just a silhouette that didn't belong. Jenna's heartbeat accelerated. "Hello," she called softly. The figure didn't move. She swallowed hard, fumbling for her phone to call security, but the line was dead. Her walkie-talkie crackled, then cut to static. The lights above flickered once, twice, and then settled. The figure had moved closer. Not walking, but appearing closer, like it had skipped across the floor. Every instinct screamed at her to run, but her legs refused. It stopped near the bed, and Jenna saw something she would never forget. Its shadow stretched unnaturally across the room, long and jagged, creeping up the walls like black smoke. Then came the whisper. It wasn't a voice she recognized. It was slow, deliberate, and soft, like someone speaking through a pillow. "You shouldn't be here." Jenna stumbled back, tripping over the trash can by the door. Her heart pounded in her chest as her scrubs clung to her sweat. She tried to scream, but no sound came. The shadow seemed to twist in place, watching her, feeding on the fear she could not hide. In a panic, she grabbed the nearest chair and swung it at the figure, but it passed straight through, as if she had hit empty air. Her legs gave out entirely, and she fell to the floor. The shadow bent toward her, almost smiling, though there was no mouth. A cold hand or something like one brushed against her shoulder. And then, as quickly as it appeared, it vanished. The lights came back to full brightness. The room was empty. Everything was normal. The monitor in the corner beeped as if nothing had happened. Jenna scrambled to her feet, gasping. Her hands shook uncontrollably. She picked up the phone to call her coworker, no signal. She ran back toward the nurse's station, every step echoing too loudly, each echo sounding like someone else walking behind her. She reached the station. The clock read 3:01 a.m. Her coworker, Sarah, appeared around the corner, looking pale. "Did you hear it?" she asked, voice trembling. "I swear, the cameras just showed something moving in 312. But then nothing. Just static. It's like it was, waiting for us to see it." Jenna nodded. "I felt it too. Something was in that room." Neither of them spoke for a long moment. Then, from deep down the hall, a soft, scraping sound echoed. Slow, deliberate, like nails dragging across tile. It stopped just outside the nurse's station. They didn't need to look. Because when the night shift knows fear, they feel it before they see it, and Jenna knew. with a certainty that made her blood run cold, that something was waiting. Watching. The scraping sound returned, louder this time. Jenna froze, every nerve in her body screaming to run. Sarah gripped her arm, shaking, whispering, "It's moving, it's close." The hall stretched before them like it had grown overnight. The lights flickered, casting long, twisted shadows that didn't belong to anything in the room. One shadow in particular, thin, jagged, impossibly tall, crawled along the walls, stopping just before the exit to the patient wards. Jenna's phone vibrated in her pocket. She dug it out, hope blooming for a second, only to see one message: "Don't look behind you." Her stomach turned. She spun around, expecting something terrifying, but the hallway was empty. The silence was worse than before, thick and oppressive. "Is this some sick joke?" Sarah whispered, backing away. Jenna shook her head. "No, this is real." She could feel it. The weight in the air, like something pressing against her mind, squeezing, testing her. She had been on the night shift long enough to sense tension, illness, danger, but this was different. This was wrong. A door at the far end of the hall creaked slowly. The sound was deliberate, almost polite. Jenna's stomach knotted. She didn't remember that door being unlocked. She moved toward it, compulsion rising in her chest. Fear told her to stop, but curiosity and something deeper, darker, forced her feet forward. The door opened on its own as she approached. Inside, the room was empty. A single chair sat in the center, spinning slowly, as if someone had just stood up. The air smelled like burned metal and wet concrete. Then she saw it. A figure crouched in the corner, body twisted unnaturally, limbs bent in ways a human body shouldn't bend. Its head turned slowly toward her, and for the first time, she saw its face, or the absence of one. Just smooth, pale skin stretched over where eyes, nose, and mouth should have been. It tilted its head, studying her. Jenna's breath caught. She tried to scream. No sound. Sarah grabbed her shoulder. The figure didn't move toward them yet, but Jenna could feel it. A presence pressing on her chest, on her mind, testing, probing. A whisper, louder this time, came from inside her head. "You can't leave." Jenna stumbled back. "Sarah, it's in my head." Sarah's eyes widened. "Mine too." They ran toward the nurse's station, but the halls twisted around them. Doors that should have led to storage rooms now opened into dark, endless corridors. Each step echoed, even when the tiles were smooth. The lights flickered and died one by one, plunging them into darkness. From behind, the scraping sound followed, slow, measured, unrelenting. "Stop!" Jenna screamed. "Stop following us!" No response. A low, guttural laugh reverberated through the hall. It wasn't human. Not exactly. It carried a resonance that seemed to vibrate inside their bones. They reached the station, but the door wouldn't open. The keycard scanner had melted into a black smear, oozing across the wall like tar. The figure appeared in the reflection of the nearby monitor. It wasn't walking, it was everywhere at once. Shadows stretched across the room, forming multiple shapes, multiple faces, all turning toward Jenna and Sarah. "Why are you doing this?" Jenna whispered, voice trembling. The entity answered in the same whisper, simultaneously in their heads, "Because you saw." A sudden crash behind them spun them around. The supply closet door slammed open, and a cold wind swept through the station. Papers, pens, and medical supplies flew into the air, spinning as if caught in a tornado. The whisper became louder, more urgent. "You can't leave. Not tonight." Jenna grabbed Sarah's hand, and they bolted toward the stairwell. But when they reached it, the stairs stretched endlessly downward, spiraling into darkness. Their hearts pounded. Every instinct screamed, run, escape, survive. But something else rose with it. The entity wasn't just behind them anymore. It was inside them, in their thoughts, their fear, feeding on every doubt and hesitation. Jenna stumbled, tripping over the last step, her vision blurring. She heard Sarah scream. It wasn't Sarah's voice. It was layered, distorted, like dozens of people screaming in unison through her ears. The walls pulsed as if alive. The stairwell twisted again, becoming a tunnel of shadows. And in the distance, Jenna saw a faint red light, the same glow from room 312. The entity waited there, patient, hungry, smiling without a face. Jenna's scream finally left her mouth, piercing the darkness. And then, everything went silent. The stairwell seemed endless. Jenna's legs burned, but she couldn't stop. Every step echoed like a gunshot in the narrow shaft. Behind her, the scraping had grown louder, sharper, like metal dragging along tile, but stretched impossibly, bending reality. Sarah stumbled beside her, coughing. It's inside us, she whispered, voice trembling. I can feel it thinking my thoughts. Jenna's chest tightened. The red glow ahead pulsed with each heartbeat, synchronized to her fear. The walls began to twist, elongating unnaturally, bending at impossible angles. Shadows stretched and detached themselves from the walls, forming thin, jagged figures that seemed to mirror her every movement. The air smelled of iron and ozone, burning her nose and throat. Jenna's hands trembled as she reached toward the stairwell railing. It was sticky, like something had coated it with sap or blood. Her fingers left small dark streaks. From somewhere below, a soft humming began. It started quiet, barely audible, but it grew, resonating through the stairwell. The sound carried voices, soft whispers layered over each other. Jenna recognized one immediately. It was the voice of a patient who had died weeks ago. Then another, a nurse who had quit months earlier. And another, a child screaming. The stairwell floor shuddered. Dust rained from the ceiling. Sarah screamed, clutching her head. It's laughing at us. Jenna turned slightly and froze. A shadow stretched across the stairs, but it wasn't thin this time. It was huge, towering, its head scraping the ceiling. Its limbs bent in ways no human body should, joints creaking like dry wood. And it had eyes, glowing faintly red, impossibly large, unblinking. It didn't move toward them. It didn't need to. The entity's presence filled the stairwell entirely. Every heartbeat, every breath, felt like it was pushing, pulling, testing their resolve. Keep moving, Jenna shouted, voice cracking. Her sneakers slipped slightly on the damp floor, but she kept going, dragging Sarah with her. The stairs twisted again, spiraling sideways, as if the building itself had grown alive. Suddenly, a door appeared at the base of the stairwell. A normal hospital door. She rushed toward it, relief washing over her, but the handle was cold, ice cold. She turned it, but it didn't budge. Then the whispers came again, louder this time. You can't leave. You belong. Stay forever. Jenna's head pounded. Stop. Just stop, she yelled, pounding her fists on the door. Sarah screamed beside her. The shadow figure leaned closer, impossibly fast now, almost touching them, but still not moving its body. It was like the air itself carried it. The humming intensified, forming a rhythm, a pulse. Then Jenna realized it wasn't random. It matched the clock in the nurse's station back upstairs, 3:33 a.m. Something clicked in her mind. This entity wasn't random. It was waiting for the time, orchestrating the terror like a clock. She backed away from the door, heart racing. Sarah grabbed her arm. It's here, she whispered. It's inside the hospital now. Every floor, every corridor, it's spreading. Jenna nodded, swallowing fear. We can't run. We have to face it. From the shadow behind them, a distorted shape emerged, stretching and folding over itself. Its face, if it could be called that, smiled impossibly wide. Its jaw cracked in unnatural angles, emitting a sound like scraping stone. Jenna raised a chair from the floor, trembling, ready to strike. Sarah picked up a fire extinguisher. The entity's presence seemed to press down harder, trying to crush their will. Then, a scream echoed down the twisted stairwell, human, familiar. Someone was still alive down there. Jenna's eyes widened. Someone else. We have to help them. The shadow paused, then melted into the walls, the floor, and the ceiling. The hallway beyond the stairwell opened, seemingly normal, but the air smelled of iron and decay. Jenna and Sarah exchanged a glance. They knew one thing: whatever awaited them was not just a hallucination or prank. It was real, and it was waiting for them to step forward. The corridor stretched impossibly long, far beyond the hospital's original layout. Fluorescent lights flickered above, some dead, others buzzing, casting uneven shadows. Jenna and Sarah walked cautiously, gripping makeshift weapons, a chair, and a fire extinguisher, but their steps felt useless, swallowed by the oppressive silence. The smell grew stronger: iron, rot, and something acrid, like burning plastic mixed with wet earth. Jenna gagged, pressing a hand to her mouth. Every instinct screamed for her to turn back, but the soft, distorted humming pulled them forward. Ahead, a door creaked open. A faint light spilled out. Jenna's legs shook as she approached, heart hammering. The voices, the whispers, grew louder. They weren't human. They were layered, overlapping, distant yet close, calling out names: nurses, janitors, even patients long gone. "Don't go in there," Sarah hissed. But Jenna couldn't stop. Something inside her screamed that the missing staff, her coworkers, were there, waiting. Or worse. The room was empty, except for a single figure crouched in the corner. At first, Jenna thought it was a person, but the way it moved was wrong. Its limbs twisted at angles impossible for human joints. Its head rolled slowly from side to side, following them, though no eyes were visible. "Hello," Jenna called, voice trembling. "Are you a person?" The figure tilted its head and slowly rose. Its movements were jerky, like a broken marionette. Then it spoke, not with words, but with a voice inside her mind, a voice she knew all too well. "You shouldn't have come." Jenna stumbled back. Sarah screamed and swung the fire extinguisher. It passed through the figure, hitting nothing. The thing smiled, or at least the jagged curve of its faceless mouth suggested it. A sudden noise behind them made them both spin. The corridor was no longer empty. Shadows formed into figures, the missing night staff frozen mid-motion. Their eyes glowed faint red, faces twisted with terror or malice. They didn't move, yet Jenna could feel them watching, judging, waiting. The faceless entity stepped forward, and the lights flickered violently. A whisper ran through Jenna's head, repeating over and over, "You can't leave, you can't leave." Her knees buckled. The air thickened, pressing down like a vice. Sweat poured down her face, her vision blurred, and the corridor seemed to stretch endlessly. Every step forward felt like wading through water. Then Jenna felt it, inside her mind. Not touch, not pressure, but thoughts that weren't hers. Dark, invasive, whispering secrets about herself, her fears, and her failures. She stumbled, nearly falling, and Sarah grabbed her arm. "It's in our heads," Sarah whispered. "It's trying to control us." Jenna's hands shook as she forced herself upright. "Then we fight. We refuse to give it power." The faceless figure tilted its head, as if amused. The shadow behind it elongated, reaching toward the walls and floor, melding reality itself into something unrecognizable. Suddenly, a loud crash echoed from deep within the corridor. Something heavy hit the wall. Dust fell. Jenna and Sarah looked at each other, realizing the entity wasn't just psychological, it manipulated the building, warping space around them. Jenna gritted her teeth. We need to get to the end of this hall, or we'll never leave alive. A scraping sound echoed again, closer than ever. Then a scream, a human, raw, full of terror, cut through the darkness. It was one of the missing nurses, calling their names. But as Jenna turned, the figure was gone. The lights flickered back, revealing only empty hallway. For a moment, relief flooded them. And then the whispers returned, louder, insistent. You can't leave. Not yet. We are everywhere. We are waiting. The hallway stretched further. The red glow returned at the far end, faint but unmistakable. Jenna and Sarah exchanged a glance, knowing that what waited for them wasn't just a shadow, a ghost, or a hallucination. It was something ancient, patient, and hungry for their fear. With one last deep breath, they stepped toward the glow, unaware of how much of themselves they would lose to reach it. Jenna and Sarah stepped into the red glow. The walls around them seemed to dissolve into black smoke, folding the corridor into a void that had no ceiling, floor, or end. Their hearts hammered in their chests. Every instinct screamed turn back, but turning back was impossible. The stairs they had descended no longer existed. At the center of the glow stood the entity in full form. Taller than any human, limbs stretching unnaturally, faceless but radiating menace. The air around it hummed and vibrated, feeding off their fear. The whispers from before, voices of missing staff, past patients, forgotten souls, piled onto one another, drowning their thoughts. You shouldn't have come, it said, not aloud, but directly into their minds. Now you belong. Jenna gripped the chair, summoning every ounce of courage. We don't belong to you, she shouted. Sarah raised the fire extinguisher, though neither knew how it could harm this thing. Suddenly, the missing staff appeared, fully materialized but twisted, contorted beyond recognition. The janitor, the nurses, the surgeon, they were alive in form but puppets in essence, standing between the girls and the exit of the glow. One reached toward Jenna. Jenna swung the chair desperately. The figure passed through it, but something inside the entity flinched. For the first time, it reacted to their defiance. Together, Jenna yelled. Sarah nodded. They charged forward, and at that moment, Jenna's fear turned into anger, pure, fierce human defiance. The glow pulsed violently, screaming through their minds, but Jenna forced herself to push through. The twisted staff figures shrieked, shadows splintering around them. Then Jenna felt it, a crack in the void. Reality itself bent slightly, and through it, she glimpsed the real hospital, silent and empty, the fluorescent lights above calm again. Sarah grabbed her arm. We can get out. With one final surge of will, they sprinted forward, plunging through the crack in the red glow. Everything went white. They collapsed in the nurse's station. The clock read 3:59 a.m. The lights were steady, the air normal, no whispers, no scraping, no red glow. The hospital was silent, just the hum of machines and the distant beep of monitors. Jenna's knees shook. Was it real? Sarah shook her head, eyes wide. I don't know, but it's gone for now. Neither of them spoke. The night shift continued, but neither could forget the cold presence, the whispers, or the faceless figures. They both knew deep down that it was patient, waiting, and that the 3 a.m. visitor would return. And when it did, the hospital would never feel safe again. Like and subscribe for more stories.